And if you're real close to God and want to stay that way, then you need to be real careful how you deal with other people. If thou marry, thou hast not sinned. And if a virgin marry, she hath not sinned. Nevertheless, here it comes, such shall have trouble in the flesh, but I spared you. I, the preacher, spare you. I'm not going to put any trouble on you. I'm not going to say you have to stay single or you have to get out of the choir or anything, but you can just expect trouble when you get married. Everybody can. You can expect to have some trouble. Don't think you'll escape it because you found the perfect partner. You'll have some trouble in the flesh. It won't keep you from going on with God. Being married won't keep you from growing up in God, but you'll have trouble in the flesh. Just expect it. Whoever you marry, you're going to have problems. You're going to have some trouble with that person. And so when you do have trouble, don't get surprised and say, well, this must not have been the will of God. I must not have married the right one. I think I better quit this one and go looking for the right one again. Well, when you become one flesh with that person, that is now the right one. It may not have been the best one when you were single and shopping around. That might not have been the best one. You may not have made the best choice. But now that you've made your choice, that is the right one. That has become the right one. And you're required to keep her. Such shall have trouble in the flesh. So just endure your trouble in the flesh is what we're trying to tell you. Go ahead and endure it. Live with that person. Suffer your trouble because you knew you was going to have it when you got married. We told you. But this I say, brethren, the time is short. It remaineth that both they that have wives be as though they had none, and they that weep as though they wept not, and they that rejoice as though they rejoiced not, and they that buy as though they possessed not, and they that use this world as not abusing it, misusing it. For the fashion of this world passeth away. I don't want to spend any time analyzing that difficult passage there. There are some difficulties in it, and it takes time to explain it. But I would have you without carefulness, he says. He that is unmarried careth for the things that belong to the Lord, how he may please the Lord. But he that is married careth for the things of the world, how he may please his wife. You can't avoid that. Paul is not criticizing you for that. He's saying that's the way it is when you're married. That's what you're supposed to do. Man, if you got a wife, you can't just leave that wife and go follow God. You're responsible to that wife. You're responsible for meeting her needs. You've got to care for the things of the world. You've got to get a job and buy a car and furnish a house and clothes for that woman. It's your duty to do that. You're not just free to go to church every time you want to, go to all the meetings you want to, and go out witnessing every time you want to. You've got to consider the needs of your family. You're supposed to. And then he says, there's a difference also between a wife and a virgin. We've had men say, that woman's changed. She's not the same woman she was when I married her. That's not the girl I married. Well, that's what Paul said. There's a difference between a wife and a virgin. You expected her to change. You should have known she was going to change. They do change after you marry them. There's the sweet and pretty, and they're always pretty when you see them before you get married. They always have their hair fixed and everything in place and their nicest clothes on. They put on their best manners. They do everything just right. That's a virgin we're talking about. But there's a difference between a wife and a virgin. A wife has some duties a virgin doesn't have. The virgin, about all she has to do is work on her face and her hair and make herself pretty. But a wife has to work on her kids and her husband and cook dinner and work on the house and keep things in order. She's got jobs to do, and she can't always fix her hair pretty up her face just at the time that her husband's getting ready to come in the door. So he's got to put up with that. He's got to put up with that. You expected her to change when you married her. You changed her. You put duties and burdens on her she didn't used to have. She's bound to change. So go ahead and live with her and make it easier for her. Pitch in and help her do the dishes. Let her wash and you dry. Or else buy her a dishwasher. Help her sweep the floor. You get out and mow the grass once in a while. Do some of those things that help your wife out. Maybe she'll have time to look pretty for you again. And put on her good manners. That's what she's mainly interested in, is her good manners. She's not like she used to be. She gets mad at me now. She bawls me out. She flies off the handle at the drop of a hat. Well, you quit dropping your hat so much and help her out. Make it easy for her. Try to support your wife because she's the weaker vessel. She may not be able to carry all that load you're putting on her. Pitch in and help her. Make things go smooth. It's your responsibility to do that. But Paul says the unmarried woman has to care for the things of the world too. How she may please her husband. Again, that's not a complaint. That's a commandment. That's a duty. It's your duty to do that. You're a married woman. You've got to care for the things of the world. Some of the things of the world, keeping a house clean and keeping clothes mended, keeping the washing done, the laundry, shopping and buying groceries. Those are all natural things that becomes your duty when you get married. And you might rather be down at the church, working for the church, helping the people at the church, but you've got to work for your family. It's your job. You've got to meet those needs first. It's for your own profit. That's what I'm doing today. Trying to do you a favor, not to cast a snare upon you, but for that which is comely, that which looks good and helps the church, that you may attend upon the Lord without distraction as much as possible. It does go on to say that if a man needs to, he can get married. If a woman needs to, she can get married. 39th verse, the wife is bound by the law as long as her husband liveth. That's the law that he said she's not bound by back there in the case of the unbelieving husband, if he leaves. But if her husband be dead, she's at liberty to be married to whom she will, only in the Lord, because death also ends that marriage covenant. But she is happier if she so abides single after my judgment, and I think also that I have the Spirit of God. Most of the widows and widowers don't agree with him. We all felt like we were not as happy as he thought we were, and we decided to marry again. No sin in doing that, but you take on the trouble of the flesh again. Let's just make up our minds to endure the trouble of the flesh and keep things in order so we can come in here and pull the Spirit of God down in these meetings and have a covering over the tabernacle here, a spiritual covering, a covering of the Spirit of God hovering over us, that we can be sheltered from temptation. You know the Holy Ghost will deliver you from temptation. We're advised to pray in the Sermon on the Mount, lead us not into temptation, as if God would lead us into temptation, but we're to pray, to seek to be delivered out of temptation, to be kept back from temptation, steered around it, and the Holy Ghost will, in the first place, guide you away from temptation, and also, if you're around temptation, give you the power to resist it. We need that covering over us. Every woman needs the covering of the authority of her husband over her. And every saint needs the covering of the authority of the ministry over them. And the whole church needs the covering of the guidance and authority of the Holy Ghost over us. We need that over the church, the Spirit of God working on us and working in us and giving us the power to do all these things that God requires of us, that we might make it to the top of Mount Zion. Stand on top of Mount Zion, 144,000 strong, doing the will of God with our Father's name written in our foreheads and following the Lamb everywhere he goes. Man, here's somebody that qualifies for a hand clap today. Sam and Renetta Calloway have been married 1 year tomorrow. They've made it that long. Give them a hand. That's encouraging to keep it up. Let not the wife depart from her husband. Let not the husband depart from his wife. You'll have trouble in the flesh, but stick it out. And keep the covering over your home, that God can honor you in all that you do.